get with it or get lost. It's almost time for the playoffs.
I got the juice, I play for hours. Coldest thing running, unlimited power. Doing my thing.
Welcome back to another episode of Hoops and Juice. It's obviously unrivaled flavor because it's unrivaled season. And we're looking at the playoff push. But before we get into anything, if you like what you see, you like what you hear, you like what we got going on, follow me, subscribe, like the video, comment on it. Go find me on my socials. I'm on the same screen name basically on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter if you fancy going over there, or Threads where there's a huge community, but they will correct you if you're wrong. You can follow me anywhere. We're at the precipice, I guess, if you could say, with YouTube in terms of breaking triple digits finally. It's took a little bit, but I appreciate everybody who's brought me along the way. And then once we hit that, we'll be looking at new goals and everything. So somebody get me there. But enough about that. This past week has been great. It's a lot of huge, high-level playoff feely type basketball. Unfortunately, I had to see my laces go down twice, which we haven't done back-to-back this entire season, which put us at 9-4. And while that's not, something that's going to condemn us, for the playoffs and everything like that, because we can't go any lower than 3. It's still not great, but I mean, it may work out favorable for us in the long run and when it comes to the matchups and everything. But I kind of wanted to save my laces for last because the two teams that I feel are most capable of pulling it out are the Mist and the Phantom. Both have potential MVP candidates for me as far as top. If I had to, I know a lot of people be upset if Chelsea Gray doesn't win MVP because she's done a ton to drag her team to where they are. I would go as far to say that Breanna Stewart should be heavily considered, as well as Kelsey Plum. And I also would lobby Aaliyah Boston for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to have my list. I don't know if I'm going to do a player graphic or something like that. I don't know if I'm going to make so much as a video about it, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out because the way the unrivaled schedule goes, it doesn't give time to really do a ton between, you got your first round of the playoffs the day after the last games, and then you got the semifinals on Monday, and then the championship on Wednesday. So there's time in between to do stuff, but I don't know. We'll figure it out though. But yeah, those teams are the ones that I think are the championship contenders. I know everybody wants the Rose to go back-to-back, and they may go back-to-back. I'm not going to say that nobody can make it. I don't think the Final have a chance. I don't think the Breeze necessarily have a chance, but I think the top 4 have a chance. And I only say top 4 because even though the Rose have been losing a lot, Chelsea Gray is there. And they have some pretty good bigs and shooting around that as well. Everybody can shoot, and you got bigs that are going to clean up the glass. And so it's kind of hard to go against that. But again, the Mist have that as well. And the Mist have high skill at the big position when you talk about Breanna Stewart. And Breanna Stewart being my MVP candidate, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have Alicia Gray on one of my all-unrivaled teams, probably the second one. And so a team like that, I feel like could match up well against the Rose and could end up matching against the Rose depending on how it plays out. And then the Phantom as well. They have bigs to rotate to go against the Rose and the Mist, and they have the guard play. The only thing I think that will change is that if the Rose decide they want to muck it up and really just go crazy in the inside, they could, because they have the size all over that team, and then still have Lexi Hull to be able to come out there and hit a couple of shots from outside and muck it up even more on defense and things like that, as well as Kai. But yeah, the Phantom, obviously you have Kelsey Plum, you have Leah Boston, you have Tasha Cloud, Tip Hayes, Kiki Iriafen, and those guys worked so well together defensively and offensively. I find it hard to bet against them. In the same way with the Miss, when you have Alicia and Bree and Veronica Burton, which is just, I don't think people talk about her enough. Like I've said before, I love Veronica and what she's done this Unrivaled season, and I've drawn more to her. I was already drawn more to her throughout the W season with her first season with the Valkyrie, but what she has shown defensively and connecting the game, like Natasha Cloud connects the game as like a true point guard, whereas like Veronica Burton attaches the game from that defensive playmaking type capability. Like, can she play make? Yes, but she's not a Natasha Cloud. She's not a Kelsey Plum when it comes to playmaking, but she still play makes from the point of defense while also being able to hit shots and just playing tough. Like, she's such a great connector to have out there and also not a liability on offense as well. I think a lot of times you see defensive players, their liabilities on offense, or offensive players are liabilities on defense, and she can do both well enough that works well for this team because she doesn't have to do heavy lifting because you have the heavy lifting from the other two. And then you have Arike, which is going to be my sixth player of the year. Nobody's even close to what she can do. Now, Arike is like Brittany Sykes a lot of the times where, you can be up, but then you're going to have some times where you're down, and it might be when you don't need it. So that's the one thing that can worry you. But when you have such offensive players and such consistent offensive players, she can do what she does best: come off the bench and torch. And if she's not seeing, she's not doing well where she needs to be, then you have players that can pick that up. Even Alana Smith can pick up sometimes on offense. Like, she's kind of been inconsistent and just hasn't really found her footing too much. But she can lock in on defense and hit timely shots. This Miss team is going to be hard to beat. And you got to think, too, they still have Lee on the bench. So, yeah, good luck playing against these two teams. It's going to be pretty tough to knock them out, but anything can happen. Anybody can win these games. Because, yeah, I can sit here and count out the Vinyl and the Breeze, which are at the bottom right now, but they both have size. The only reason I would say I don't necessarily trust the Vinyl, maybe more so than the Breeze, is because the Vinyl, it seems like everybody's figured out De'Erica Hamby and her post moves. And so because of that, it seems like they've gone away from her, not almost entirely, but a lot more than she was in the beginning. Like, because a lot more players are blocking her shot because she does the pivot, and hook shot, and everybody's there waiting to block. Like, it's literally that in that order. It's not pivot, go. It's not pivot, go. It's pivot, go. And I think she can shoot a decent amount, so I don't know why she doesn't try to shoot more mid-range shots. But I think the dangerous one is going to be Brittany Griner, because while you're down there fighting with De'Erica, you can then bring in Brittany and get some easy fouls, pick up easy fouls, because nobody can really match up with Brittany in terms of height and things like that, but maybe in terms of skill. Some other teams can hang with her, but it's going to be tough handling her. Will she play a lot of minutes in the playoffs? Maybe, we'll see. But I think that's their main way to be able to get through and win out, is not, it's going to be their big play and how much they can get people in foul trouble. But I think that's going to be the key for all these teams except for the Laces, obviously. And then you obviously have Ryan, Ray, and whether she's on or off. And then Erica Wheeler, whether she has to play a bigger role or not, because I think she's better when she's not dependent on to play a stronger role, because I think that's when it comes to her, down to her beginning to force things, and I don't necessarily like it when they have her out there and she's starting to force it, because the game usually gets away around that time from them. And then Sanaya, I mean, she didn't even play this last game, so whether she plays or not during the playoffs, I have no idea. Obviously, we still have another game. We got to see what Teaspoon's planning for her. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting team. Like I said, nobody's can be completely counted out, but I don't necessarily count them as contenders. The Breeze, they've been having some issues here recently, but with Rakia back, this team looks much better. And I said they look so much better, and they look really well, really good last night, but they were getting torched by the Miss. So, like, they can look good all they want, but if somebody's still putting BTA then I don't know what else to tell you when it comes to that kind of thing. They have a team that can hit shots, um, take it. I don't even necessarily want to say this team is a post team because Dom's still working on her post game and dominating from that point. And like I've said before, I would rather see Cam Brink become a stretch big anyway, so I don't count on her for interior scoring. So when you really look at it, you have a lot of perimeter oriented players and nobody wanting to take the mid range shots. Even Paige was taking more mid range shots in the beginning of the season, and she's kind of pulled back, and it's been either three or play or layups, which I know I get it. The game today is mid range is a bad shot, right? If I can get to a higher percentage layup, I'm gonna get to it or get to a hook shot or whatever. Like it takes away from the diversity of the scoring package, and it's either drive, do the post up, turn around, one legged fade, hook shot, the pivot, step through hook shot, or the step back three, or sidestep three, or three off of a pick, or three in transition, or logo three. And so with a lack of diversity, you kind of live and die by what you can get. And so if a team's too big and you're not hitting threes, probably going to be blouses at that point. Like if you're too afraid to get on the inside, especially against somebody like, say, Brittany Griner for the vinyl. Aaliyah Boston's not really like a head up blocker. It's one of those things where she either gets it, her blocks and stuff in help, or she gets it in, excuse me, like you're doing specific moves and stuff like the fadeaways and stuff. So like she's available, she's ready to be available to block a shot off of moves and things like that. But like straight up, just like coming and just boom, sending it. That's more so of your Brittany Grinders. Lana Smith is another one that's like that. I wouldn't even really say Shakira kind of, and Angel to an extent. Um, but even last year in her first season, she didn't really block many shots. And then I don't necessarily call Brianna Stewart a shot blocker, but she can block shots. But that's pretty much it. So, I mean, there's not many people that should intimidate folks from coming down into the paint. But the bigs, I think, is where I'm focusing at when it comes to these playoff games. Win or go home. The Rose, yeah, again, unless Chelsea is able to backpack and some other players can step up, this team's not going to go very far. It's like I said, they're not going to win much, and I could be wrong, but they're not going to win much when Chelsea has to score 30 plus. They beat my Laces, but if you can't get contributions from everybody else and her not having to do that, then you might, I don't know. I mean, she could just go nuclear and say, we coming for back to back, and it is what it is. And you can just mark this part of the video and come back and say, at least he said it, right? But I'm kind of standing on that. I don't think they'll go very far if they have to, like if nobody's hitting shots and they have to depend on Chelsea to carry the team. It's not. And it hasn't, because it's usually like that one game and then they lose the next one. So we'll see, especially playing the Phantom. That's going to be a good one. And the good thing, too, about all these games on Friday, there's only one game that doesn't mean anything. And I think they have, unless they change it, it's the first game. They flexed it to the first game. So, I mean, you hope people tune in, but I think nobody's going to tune in until after that game, because then you have a potential playoff matchup. Well, no. Because if things stay the same right now, I'm not even going to try to play that game because so much can shift. Everything could look different by the end of Friday because the Phantom could lose and be 10-4. The Mist could win and be 10-4. The Laces could win and be 10-4, or the Phantom could win and nobody can touch them at 11-3. But still, the Mist and the Laces could both win because the Mist play the Vinyl, the Laces play the Breeze, so both of those could win and not affect each other and both be 10-4. And then you kind of have to go off point differential and everything, like in the matchups that they've had, which I think the Mist have beat us both times. No, we beat the Mist once and they beat us once. Well, they might have swept us. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at it. But either way, there could be a match there. The Rose could beat the Phantom, and then the Breeze could beat us, the Laces, and then both could be 7-7. Or they could both lose. The Rose lose to the Phantom, and the Phantoms are 10-3, and then the Rose are 6-8, and then the Breeze could lose to the Laces, and then the Laces are 10-4. Or excuse me, yeah, Phantom will be 11-3, but the Laces would be 10-4, and then the Breeze will be 6-8, alongside the Roses at 6-8. But then the Vinyl could beat the Mist and end up 6-8, and so you got three teams matched up there, where it could be 6-6, 6-8, 6-8, 6-8, and then it would, in that scenario, it would be 11-3, 10-4, and 9-5. So then the top three would be set, but you would have to figure out who the bottom three would be and how they set up. So a lot could happen, a lot could change after Friday. So we really don't know the matchups until the last game is played. Realistically, yeah, literally the last game is played, because like if they had left, because I'm pretty sure the Hive and the Owls were the last game, and if that was the case, then people would already know their seeding, so it wouldn't matter knowing with that one. I wish that one. I mean, I know they can't see the future, but that would have been amazing if we had like the ability to flex those and put those teams against other teams, so like they could play spoil sport to somebody trying to adjust their positioning and play against a specific team. But yeah, I can't wait to do that video and talk about matchups and see what I believe will happen and who I think will come out of it. But like I said, I'm planting my flag on the Mist and or Phantom being the winners of it all. And then my Laces, last but not least, my Laces. I want them to win. I want them to come out and be victorious, but there's just a part of me that doesn't have faith in the team because of the lack of a big. And because of that, we can be taken advantage of from teams that have bigs or have to depend so much on Brittany Sykes, Jackie Young, because there's nobody else who can go nuclear. There's nobody else who can score 15 dependably, like consistently, because Alyssa Thomas, for all that she offers, even in the W, she's still more of like a 15, 16, 10, 8 to 10 rebounds and 8 to 10 assists, like a walk-in triple-double threat and good on defense, but she's not somebody that I'm looking at to like, hey, I need 20 from you, like, or you're going to give it to me, because she just, with her shoulders and her game is just so limited offensively, and then she's going to be matched up against the bigs, and so it's a tough one, but when those other two are hitting, when Maddie is hitting, when Nas is getting her shots from wherever she's getting them, like say she's getting, like if the perfect game I think is like Maddie hitting a couple of shots, Nas hitting a couple of threes, and then Canada facilitating and orchestrating the way she is, but a lot of times they can be played off. She can be played off the floor because teams can go double big, and then you have to put another bigger person out there. And when we only have Nas and Alyssa that can securely guard the bigger players for extended amounts of time, it kind of changes how we can play, because you have to take either Jackie or Brittany off the floor. So with that being said, if we just get hot, as with any team, then cool, we got it. But I think if it comes down to needing that third score or a little bit of a cold streak from one of those two guys, then we're going to be in trouble. We match up well with most teams, with all the teams really. But again, like I said, if there's going to be a reason we lose, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to come back here and say it was because of the lack of scoring outside of those two. Alyssa Thomas's inability to get a ton of buckets, and the lack of the bench, because a lot of times we roll out that Maddie, Nas, Canada lineup, and while it has been good in spots, I don't know if we'll see a ton of that in the playoffs. So I look for them to get right against the Breeze, who I think we beat. So this will be our second matchup against them. So you want to see them sweep this matchup and show them youngins who the bosses is, and make it out of there with a dub. Because I don't know. I don't think it matters, because we're going to end up going against one of the Rose, Breeze, or the Vinyl. So if we can smack up the Breeze, and then because then that would make them 6-8. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's too much that could happen, but we won't know who we would play because we'd be playing the 4, and then 2 will be playing the 5, and then 1 will be playing the 6. So yeah, it would be whoever. Yeah, but if they all go 6 and 8, and the Breeze end up in the 4 spot, then we could at least make it past the first round. But I don't know. The Rose is sketchy with them having Angel now. I don't know. But we only lost because we couldn't hit a bunch of shots. Like, we haven't lost by a ton in any of our games. I think the most we lost by is 7. So, yeah. That's my dark horse. My team is the Laces. But I believe if anybody wants to stamp anything, I believe that the top 4 teams all have a chance. If somebody comes from 5 or 6, I will be shocked. But until next time, I'll see you guys on the next, or I guess Saturday, because it will be coming right before the playoffs start, but after the last games finish, and we'll talk about matchups and what we plan on seeing Saturday night. But until then, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.